Hey comic book fans! Now continuing today where we left off last week. If you remember, Jason Quadmire had succeeded in creating a subsisting universe, a small pocket in reality, where he managed to fit and isolate the entire city of New York and their inhabitants. In this episode, we'll endeavour to find out about one of the characters in this particular tale, the muse they call Ira Kaul. Stay tuned. Now, we've already looked at many of these mythic creatures in the last couple of months. You know them. If you've been following, you're well aware that muses live among us and are the bringers of inspiration and creativity. The last muse that we looked at was the one and only Robert de Lila. Today, we'll examine another muse named Ira Kaul.
The idea that Ira was once a professional model does not detract from the fact that he has a deeply keen intellect. He understands psychology and holds a degree in philosophy, both abilities he uses in his desire to manipulate others. After the city and state of New York was transported to a dimensional bubble of Quadmire's making, Ira was called upon to protect his and Jason's memories as the city was bombarded with radiation from the exotic particles.
Later, Ira chose to be complicit in Jason's plans to keep the people in the dark about what had happened to them. Ira was promoted to lead the team of superheroes against the city's malcontents. Ira has powers of his own. He is the muse of memory and recall. He was able to stabilize Jason's memories when they passed through the dimensional barrier to the snow globe universe. From there, both Jason and Ira were able to reprogram everyone trapped inside the bubble into thinking Quadmire was their leader and saviour. Okay, well, Smiler here was originally a clown, self-employed, entertaining people on the streets. Hard to imagine a comedian making any money on these tough streets, but he had a gimmick that set him apart from other clowns.
Really?
Generally speaking, he didn't go for the colourful attire and red nose and curly red hair.
But no, he has to dress in a Cheshire Cat onesie. A Cheshire Cat onesie? Are you for real?
To be honest, I could think of a hell of a lot worse, costume-wise.
Yeah, if you were the tick.
When that tragic day arrived, that witnessed the entire city of New York sucked into another dimension, Smiler experienced the same effects of the exotic particles. He woke up on the street, not knowing who he was or what was going on. He noticed too that there were other people around him who were experiencing the same amnesia effects.
Yeah, right. I know when someone's hit it hard.
I'll lay off.
Nope.
Forced to examine the strange costume he was wearing, he figured he must be some sort of superhero or comic book oddity. In his mind at least, it was the only explanation for his dubious attire. As the months rolled by, Smiler began to pick up the pieces of his life, or so he imagined, and decided to put his theory to the test.
Let me guess. I bet those exotic particles has given him superpowers. Well, I got news for you. I've got superpowers too. Sorry.
By the docks, Smiler comes across a gang of youths who were up to no good. Losing his nerve suddenly, the self-appointed superhero took off. This gang of youths took chase as they no doubt believed that their cover had been unceremoniously blown. They chased poor Smiler up a one-way street. As the onesie-wearing crime fighter stood with his back to the wall, one of the youths commented on Smiler's odd costume. The rest of the thugs began to laugh out loud, saying that he must be some sort of nut to be dressed like a Cheshire cat.
You're shitting me. What happened next?
Well, all the little piggies went all the way home.
"Tell us a joke," one of the gang members shouted, holding his gun up and aiming it at Smiler. Smiler suddenly remembered some of his routine. He didn't quite understand how he remembered it, but he started to tell some jokes. Some clean ones at first. Then they sort of deteriorated into a spate of innuendos that would have floored even the toughest of audiences. Only Smiler started laughing at his own jokes, which was probably not that professional. Still, he kept on telling them, and the more he told dirty jokes, the more he laughed. Pun after pun, jape after insidious jape, spilled from his mouth until the laughter was getting too weird, even for him. Something was happening to the youths as they listened to Smiler's merriment. They were getting rather emotional themselves, but instead of joining him in the laughter, they started to cry. Their shoulders began to stoop. Before long, the gang members were starting to turn their pistols on themselves. The first victim's brains splattered up against the wall as the cul-de-sac echoed with the gunshot. A second gunshot saw another suicide fall in a heap on the ground, and another, then another. Smiler emerged from the shadows, wiping the tears of mirth from his eyes, and wondering if his jokes had been this bad. Maybe he should have gone into the entertainment biz. As it turned out, this was the side effect of his exposure to the transition. The transition that had left New York stranded in a dimensional bubble had affected some people differently. In Smiler's case, it had made his humour deadly. Whenever anyone came into contact with Smiler, when he was happy, usually the worst things happened. Best case scenario? For a superhero, this could definitely be considered a bonus, if not a form of tragic irony. It did mean, however, that Smiler could never show off his sick sense of humour around people he cared about for obvious reasons. When Jason Quadmire, in his new role as Supreme Governor, decided to form a team of superheroes to fight the city's malcontents, Smiler was chosen. Smiler is the master of mirth in any fight against crime and villainy.
that's all we got time for this week. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, you might want to head on over to my page on Patreon and check out my posts there. If you are a patron, that is. It comes under the same name as my account here on YouTube, Taylor Toons Creative Geek. Please comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again later. Bye.